transformation of your linear rights, given the emergence of a lot of non-linear delivery of content? And are you also seeing, or perhaps not, are the distributors of this content, do they tend to be the same, or do you still have the traditional broadcasters with new players in the market delivering the OTT and other non-linear content?
So it's a really interesting question. In our context, it's still the same players that like to have full exclusivity over the content. They want to be the home of rugby or the home of football or what have you. And that's inclusive of linear TV delivery live, which is really traditionally the playground of cable and subscription television. But increasingly, though, that's pivoting now to new players, including some sort of tech giants that are really entering the space quite aggressively, from the Amazons and the Apples of the world. And that's really having a very disruptive effect on the traditional delivery of sports by more passive linear broadcast partners. I think there are opportunities, though. It hasn't happened in the rugby world yet, but there are certainly opportunities for different players to be delivering different aspects of content. So you could potentially have sports partnering with a traditional linear broadcaster on a subscription basis, and also partnering with a tech platform or a social media platform. And many sports already have those sort of diversified deals where there are different rights assigned to different parties, other different phases of the season, or different timeframes or what have you. So the options there, I think, are limitless, and it puts the rights holder, I think, in a powerful position of being able to leverage different players off against each other and really increasingly driving rights values up, and also giving customers or giving fans more options in terms of where it is that they're consuming the content that they want to watch.
Rohit, do you have anything to add to that from
Yeah.
an Indian perspective?
I think basically not just from Indian perspective, I would actually like to say it from the global perspective. There are antitrust issues if all the rights are owned by one player or one provider, because what's going to happen is he's going to command everything. And with 5G, everybody's busy with online gaming and other things. So they just need to consume short content. Highlights might have more hits compared to the whole live telecast now. So would online gaming. So these are the fields where the lawyers are most required in, because you'll have antitrust issues when it comes to, I am actually twisting it towards how the work would go to the lawyers, because I think that's what's more important. Because what's going to happen is with the antitrust issues, some of the providers, like in India we have Star Sports, which has complete rights over cricket. That's the only game which is really big money in India. So they will have to let go of one of the platforms. Either they can do linear or non-linear. They can't have command over everything. Plus, the online gaming has to actually switch. We'll have to see how that goes, because we'll be talking about betting and a lot of other things later. So that's a major source of entertainment now. And the market in India itself is over $150 billion with that. So we really need to talk about that and the legality, because that's one field which I think us lawyers would find very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit. It's interesting that you mentioned antitrust. For those non-European lawyers, so I'm from London, and I'm an avid Premier League fan, and if I want to watch all Premier League games that are televised online, I have to subscribe to Sky Sports, BT Sports, and Amazon Prime. And the reason for this is because, I don't know how many years ago, in the European Union there was a competition law case that stated that you couldn't sell all of the rights to one party. So for this reason, in Europe, you have to divide the package. It's the same with the Champions League as well. If I want to watch all Champions League games, I have to have both Sky Sports and BT Sports. So again, a very interesting point that you brought up. We could obviously discuss this in a whole new session, but I just wanted to add that there is existing precedent for preventing rights holders from, I guess, bundling all of their rights and selling it to one player. One question I had was, in your opinion, any of you, who's driving the changes? Is it the rights holders? Is it the broadcasters? Is it the fans? Where is it coming from?
If I may, I think, for me at least, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's the fans, basically. The fans are, driving all other stakeholders in the industry to basically fit to their needs, to their kind of new approach of, I want to consume the media and the content I want to consume at the specific time that suits me. And that's why we see, I think, in my mind at least, that's why we see a huge shift from the non-linear to the linear, from the linear to the non-linear broadcasting. Basically, I think personalization is the key word here. All of the stakeholders are trying to make sure that the end user, the fan can consume his or her content when it suits them.
I would say technology, because if we didn't have 5G, we would constantly have buffering when it came to non-linear broadcasting, so that would not work. So with 5G, I think all mobile phones, everything's become a TV. Africa, India, say probably the rest of South Asia or poorer countries, did not even have access to all this. Say 4 years back, India would have just, I wouldn't make a perfect number because I'm not aware of that, probably 100 million mobile users. Now it's like much more than that. Now we would have like 1,000 million, because that's like, it's grown exponentially in the last 4 years. And 5G has played a very, very important role with non-linear.
I agree with both of you. I do think it's coming from the fans, and it's dependent on technology. I also think there's a degree coming from the platforms. I think in 2016, Jeff Bezos said that when we win a Golden Globe, it helps us sell more shoes. And I think there's some really interesting strategies at play in why the Amazons of the world are getting into sports rights or entertainment more generally. And I think sports have a very unique position in the ecosystem for a lot of these platforms. There's a real stickiness around sports rights. Once you're watching a sport, you'll come back and watch the game next week and next week. And I think platforms see some value in that, and it drives interest in other offerings that they may have, be that e-commerce, be that other forms of entertainment. So I think there's a real diversity of strategies at play, and sports is fortunate enough to find itself in bidding wars between these platforms that are trying to execute on those strategies.
A question that just came to mind, and maybe I shouldn't raise it, but do you think, so let's take an example that broke my heart last year. So Netflix obviously have this Drive to Survive series about Formula One, and allegedly in the aim of entertainment, Michael Masi, who was the race director for Formula One, kind of deviated from some rules, and Lewis Hamilton, my idol, he was not crowned world champion last year. Do you think that maybe this is an exception, but is there a tangible impact on the sport itself via this digitization, or is it kind of just a kind of sideshow to